You see, the first thing you need to understand is this: a narcissist feeds on validation. Every word you say, every compliment you offer, every time you bend over backward to make them feel good, you're giving them power over your emotions. And here's the truth most people never want to admit. They don't care about your feelings, your needs, or your time. They care about how they feel, and more importantly, how you make them feel. That's it. And if you've been constantly seeking their approval, chasing their smile, hoping that one day they'll see the real you, then you've been playing a game that is rigged from the start. Now, I want you to picture this for a moment. Imagine a garden. You plant seeds, water them, nurture them every day, but the sunlight is always being blocked by a massive wall. No matter how much care you give, the plants struggle to grow. That wall, my friends, is the narcissist's ego. And every time you try to win their approval, you're trying to force your growth through their shadow. You're asking them to validate your worth instead of allowing yourself to shine independently. And that, believe me, is exhausting. You might be thinking, but they're my partner, they're my friend, they're part of my life. I can't just stop caring what they think. And that's where the trap lies. Caring is not the problem. The problem is defining your worth by their response. If your happiness, your confidence, your self-esteem rises and falls based on what they say, what they post, or how they react, you are trapped in a cycle of emotional slavery. It doesn't matter how nice you are, how thoughtful you are, or how perfect you try to be, they will always find a way to take more than they give. So what do you do instead? You stop. You stop looking for their approval. You stop measuring your value against their judgment. You stop waiting for their acknowledgement to feel validated. You build a foundation of self-worth that is completely independent of them. And I know, it's not easy. It requires practice. It requires patience. It requires reminding yourself daily that your opinion of yourself matters far more than theirs ever could. But the moment you begin to internalize that, the game changes. Suddenly, their words have less power. Their approval no longer controls your mood. And their attempts to manipulate or guilt you fall flat because they realize slowly that you are no longer hooked. And here's another truth. Once you stop seeking their approval, something beautiful happens. You start to reclaim the energy you've been pouring into them. You start investing it back into yourself, into your goals, your passions, your relationships that actually lift you up. And as your energy returns, your confidence grows. You no longer react out of fear, anxiety, or the need to be liked. You act from strength. You act from clarity. And the narcissist, the person who once held invisible chains over you, suddenly realizes that their power is slipping. That's when they will test you, push you, try to pull you back into that cycle. But you, grounded in self-worth, will stand firm. You will not be moved. This isn't about anger. This isn't about revenge. It's about freedom. Freedom from the constant need to be validated, freedom from emotional manipulation, freedom to live your life on your terms. Because once you stop seeking their approval, you stop giving them the control they crave. And make no mistake, control is exactly what they want. But control over you is no longer on the table. You've chosen yourself. You've chosen your dignity. You've chosen your peace. And here's the final point I want you to hear loud and clearly. Seeking the approval of a narcissist is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much you pour in, it never stays. But when you stop, when you finally turn that bucket upright and patch the hole, it fills with your own love, your own confidence, your own worth. And nothing, no criticism, no manipulation, no games can take that away. So today, make the decision. Stop seeking their approval. Stop looking for their nod. Stop measuring yourself by their mirror. Stand in your truth, stand in your worth, and let the world see the power of someone who finally chooses themselves over someone who will never truly see them. Too often, we mistake kindness for weakness. We hear someone call us too nice, and we wear it as a badge of honor, as if being accommodating, as if being agreeable, is the ultimate measure of character. But let me tell you this, when it comes to dealing with a narcissist, that kind of Nice is exactly what keeps you trapped, because kindness without boundaries becomes an open door for manipulation. Every time you say yes when your gut screams no, every time you soften your voice to avoid conflict, you are giving them more power over your life. And that, my friends, is not being nice, it's surrendering your strength. Now, understand this: boundaries are not cruelty. They are not punishment. They are not rejection. Boundaries are simply the line you draw between what is acceptable to you and what is not. And a narcissist will test that line every single day. They will push, prod, and try to find a crack. They will guilt you, charm you, and twist your words. That is how they operate. But here's the key: when you enforce boundaries with clarity and consistency, you are reclaiming your own power. You are saying, "This is who I am. This is what I will accept. This is my space, my time, my peace." And nothing about that is unkind. In fact, it's the most honest form of kindness you can give yourself. Think about the times you've been too nice. How often did it lead to resentment, exhaustion, or being taken for granted? How often did you leave a conversation or a situation feeling drained, wondering why your efforts were never appreciated? That's because being nice without limits is like watering a garden that someone else keeps trampling. No matter how much love, patience, or attention you give, the narcissist will consume it without giving anything back. The only way to stop that cycle is to draw a line and then stand firm on it. And standing firm doesn't mean yelling or retaliating. It doesn't mean reacting with anger or bitterness. It means calmly and consistently enforcing your boundaries. If they interrupt you, you pause and continue speaking. If they demand more than you can give, you say no. If they try to manipulate your emotions, you step back and refuse to engage on their terms. Boundaries are not a weapon, they are armor. They protect your mind, your heart, and your dignity. They give you the space to think clearly, act intentionally, and respond from a place of power rather than fear. Here's something people don't often realize: a narcissist will respect a boundary more than they will respect endless niceness. Endless niceness allows them to take, to control, to dominate. Boundaries make them realize that you are not theirs to bend. Boundaries are proof that you see yourself as valuable, that you see your life as worthy of respect, that you are no longer willing to be a pawn in their games. And once they sense that firmness, the dynamic begins to shift. You are no longer reacting to them. You are leading your own life, setting your own pace, determining your own worth. It's not easy. It's uncomfortable at first. You may face pushback, ridicule, or even attempts to guilt you into reverting to old patterns. But remember, this discomfort is temporary. Regaining your power, your peace, your freedom, that lasts a lifetime. Every time you reinforce a boundary, you are teaching the narcissist, and more importantly yourself, that you are not for manipulation, you are not for control, and you are not for compromise when it comes to your dignity. And here's the ultimate truth: kindness with boundaries is the most liberating kind of kindness there is. It doesn't drain you. It doesn't trap you. It doesn't leave you feeling invisible. Instead, it restores your energy, reinforces your self-worth, and creates a space where real respect can exist. Not from them, necessarily, but from you for yourself. Because at the end of the day, the person who will always honor your boundaries, who will always see your value, is the person in the mirror. So today, let this be the moment you stop apologizing for protecting yourself. Let this be the moment you understand that boundaries are love. Love for yourself, love for your peace, love for your future. Firm, clear, unapologetic boundaries are not just a strategy. They are the declaration that you are no longer anyone's doormat. You are no longer playing by someone else's rules. You are standing in your truth, and nothing, not charm, not manipulation, not guilt, can take that away. Here's the thing about a narcissist: they thrive on explanations. They love it when you justify yourself, when you go into detail about why you did this or said that. Every time you over-explain, every time you try to convince them that your choice or your action was reasonable, you are giving them a tool. You are handing them ammunition to twist, manipulate, and control the narrative. And that, my friends, is a trap. Because no matter how logical, reasonable, or heartfelt your explanation is, it will never satisfy them. Why? Because it's never really about the facts. It's about control, it's about power, and it's about keeping you hooked in a cycle of approval, seeking, and doubt. Most people think that if they explain themselves clearly, if they justify their actions fully, the narcissist will understand them. That's a lie. The narcissist doesn't want understanding. They want leverage. They want to make you doubt yourself, question your motives, and feel guilty for asserting your needs. And once you realize this, once you see that your explanations are feeding their control rather than dissolving it, you begin to see the power in changing your approach. Instead of explaining, you declare. Short, firm, unapologetic statements carry far more weight than paragraphs of justification. Instead of, "I didn't mean to hurt you, I was just busy at work and I didn't realize you say, "I cannot do that right now." Instead of trying to rationalize why a decision was right or necessary, you simply state the boundary or the choice, calmly, clearly, and without apology. That's where your power lies, not in convincing them, not in persuading them, not in begging for understanding, but in making your stance known and holding it. Think about it like this: a narcissist is like a storm. The more you wave your hands, shout, and try to argue with the wind, the more it seems to rage around you. But if you stand firm, if you do not flinch, if you speak with clarity and confidence, the storm has nowhere to grab hold. Your words, your boundaries, your calm presence become the anchor. You are no longer tossed around by their manipulation. You are no longer reacting from fear, guilt, or the desperate need to be understood. You are acting from strength. It's not about arrogance. It's not about being cold or dismissive. It's about clarity and self-respect. And here's a secret most people don't realize. When you stop over-explaining yourself, when you stop begging for their approval through your words, the narcissist begins to lose their grip. Because their power relies on your uncertainty. It relies on your willingness to justify, defend, and question yourself endlessly. Once you refuse to participate in that cycle, the control slips from their hands, and suddenly, you are the one holding the ground. This also protects your energy. Every hour spent over-explaining is an hour you could spend on building your life, strengthening your relationships with people who truly value you, and reinforcing your own confidence. Every time you try to convince a narcissist of your intentions, you are giving away mental, emotional, and spiritual energy that is rightfully yours. And when you stop, when you replace explanation with declaration, you reclaim that energy. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your power. It's natural to feel nervous, to feel guilty, to worry that a lack of explanation will provoke anger or criticism. But the truth is, no explanation is ever going to satisfy a narcissist in the way you hope. They are not seeking fairness. They are seeking dominance. And the moment you accept that, the moment you understand that your words are not meant to win their approval, but to affirm your boundaries, everything changes. Your tone becomes steady, your mind becomes calm, and your life becomes your own again. So, let go of the need to explain. Let go of the desire to justify yourself. Speak your truth clearly, calmly, and without apology. Say what needs to be said, and let it be enough. Because you are not responsible for their feelings, their ego, or their reaction. You are responsible for yourself, your peace, and your boundaries. And when you finally embrace this truth, when you finally declare rather than explain, you step into a space of freedom that no narcissist can ever take from you. And here's the closing thought to carry with you: your voice is powerful, but only when it speaks from truth and conviction. Do not give it away by over-explaining, defending, or justifying yourself. Speak once, speak clearly, and let your life be the answer they cannot manipulate. One of the most powerful tools you can develop when dealing with a narcissist is neutrality. Now, hear me carefully, because this is where most people get it wrong. Neutrality is not coldness. Neutrality is not indifference. Neutrality is not pretending that the other person doesn't exist or that their words don't sting. Neutrality is the ability to respond without giving your emotional energy away. It is the art of remaining calm, composed, and steady when the narcissist is trying to provoke you, manipulate you, or control you. And once you master this, you will notice a profound shift, not just in the way the narcissist interacts with you, but in the way you carry yourself through life. Narcissists thrive on reactions. Their favorite game is emotional manipulation. They feed on your anger, your frustration, your guilt, your fear. Every reaction you give is like throwing wood onto their fire. It fuels them, it energizes them, and it keeps you trapped in their cycle. When you respond with neutrality, when you do not offer the emotional spikes they crave, suddenly their favorite weapon loses its edge. You no longer give them the chaos they depend on. You no longer allow them to control your emotional state. And make no mistake, this is a skill that will free you in ways you cannot imagine. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but if I stay neutral, won't they walk all over me? Won't they see that as weakness? The truth is, strength is not measured by your reactions, it is measured by your control over them. Neutrality does not mean you are passive. It does not mean you allow abuse or disrespect. It means that you respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. It means that you see their games for what they are and refuse to participate on their terms. And that, my friends, is the difference between being a pawn and being the player. Think about it like this: the narcissist is a storm, constantly trying to shake you, rattle you, and pull you off balance. If you flail, if you react, if you pour your energy into arguing or defending yourself, the storm rages and you're tossed around. But if you stand with calm neutrality, the storm can rage all at once. It cannot uproot you, it cannot take you off course, and it cannot feed on the strength you are reserving for yourself. You become untouchable not because you fight harder, but because you refuse to give them what they seek. Neutrality also allows you to see clearly. When you react emotionally, your vision is clouded. You cannot think strategically. You cannot make decisions from a place of clarity. And you often end up making choices that keep you trapped. But when you practice neutrality, you create space to observe, to analyze, and to act in your own best interest. You see the manipulations for what they are. You notice the patterns. You recognize the tactics. And armed with that clarity, you can make decisions that protect your heart, your mind, and your life. Another important thing to remember is that neutrality is not about detachment from your values. It's about engagement without surrender. You are still firm in your boundaries, still clear in your decisions, still committed to your peace and your dignity. The only difference is that you do not allow the narcissist to dictate how you feel, how you react, or how much energy you expend. You are no longer a source of fuel for their ego. You are no longer a character in their endless story. You are living your own story on your own terms. This is not easy, and it takes practice. Your instincts will push you to argue, to defend, to react, to explain. But with every moment you choose neutrality over reaction, with every interaction where you remain calm and composed, you reclaim power. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your energy. And eventually, the narcissist begins to lose interest, not because you are cold, but because you are no longer a source of chaos, no longer a target for manipulation, and no longer someone they can control. So, take this truth with you: neutrality is not weakness, it is strength. It is not detachment, it is freedom. It is the anchor that keeps you grounded in the storm of their manipulation. When you respond with calm, measured, steady words, when you refuse to let your emotions be hijacked, you are taking back control of your life, your mind, and your peace. And that, ultimately, is the most powerful act you can take. Stand firm, stay calm, and let neutrality be your shield. In that space, no one, not even a narcissist, can touch your peace, your clarity, or your power. One of the hardest lessons to learn when dealing with a narcissist is this: you cannot change them. You cannot fix them. You cannot convince them to see the truth, to feel empathy, or to behave with integrity. And yet, so many people exhaust themselves trying to do just that, pouring energy, hope, and emotion into a battle they cannot win. The moment you accept this truth, The moment you realize that their behavior is beyond your control, everything shifts, because the power is not in changing them. It is in changing how you respond. Most people approach a narcissist thinking, if only I explain myself better, if only I show them love, if only I demonstrate patience, they will change. But that is a trap. Narcissists are masters at using your hope and your effort against you. They make you feel responsible for their moods, their reactions, their failures, and their insecurities. And the more you try to change them, the more trapped you become, because you are investing your life into something that is inherently unchangeable. So if you cannot change them, what can you do? You change your response. And this is where the true power lies. Changing your response means you decide how much of your energy, your time, your emotions, and your attention you allow them to control. It means that when they provoke you, you do not react impulsively. When they try to manipulate you, you do not fall into the trap. When they demand more than you can give, you simply say no. Changing your response is about reclaiming the authority over your own life that they have been trying to steal. Think about the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is emotional, instinctive, and often driven by fear, guilt, or the need to be validated. Responding is deliberate, measured, and rooted in your principles, your boundaries, and your self-respect. Narcissists thrive on reactions. They feed on the chaos you provide. But when you respond from a place of calm, clarity, and strength, you take the power away from them. Your life is no longer dictated by their moods, manipulations, or ego. You are the one holding the reins. Changing your response also means shifting your focus. Instead of focusing on how to make them see reason, you focus on your own growth, your own peace, and your own life. You invest your energy into relationships that uplift you, projects that fulfill you, and actions that reflect your values. You stop pouring into a black hole that gives nothing back. And in that shift, you begin to notice something incredible. The narcissist's attempts to control you begin to lose their impact. They may still try, but you no longer hand them the tools they need to succeed. You are no longer participating in the game they designed to keep you trapped. This is not easy, and it will not happen overnight. Your instincts will pull you back into old patterns. You will want to explain, to justify, to argue, and to try to win them over. But each time you resist that pull, each time you choose a response that preserves your dignity and your peace, you strengthen yourself. You fortify your boundaries. You reclaim your life. And every moment you invest in yourself rather than in trying to change them is a victory, a step toward freedom. The beauty of this approach is that it turns the game completely upside down. A narcissist expects compliance, confusion, and emotional fuel. When you stop providing these, you disrupt their strategy. They cannot control you. They cannot provoke you into doubt. They cannot manipulate your emotions. And the most powerful realization comes when you see that you never needed them to be different in the first place. Your strength, your peace, and your freedom were never dependent on them. They were always within you. So let this truth settle in. You are not responsible for fixing them. You are responsible for protecting yourself, for managing your responses, and for living your life with dignity and clarity. And when you finally embrace that, you no longer play their game. You no longer hand them the reins to your life. You respond, you act, and you live on your terms. Remember, the power is not in trying to change a narcissist. It is in changing your response. Once you grasp that, you step into a space of freedom, clarity, and unstoppable strength. You are no longer their pawn. You are no longer trapped in the cycle. You are the author of your own life, writing each page with intention, courage, and unwavering self-respect. The final lesson, and perhaps the most powerful, is this: sometimes the strongest response to a narcissist is distance. And I don't mean a little space here and there. I mean intentional, purposeful separation. You see, so many people think they need to fight, argue, or convince a narcissist to see reason. They think they need to explain, to justify, to bend themselves into shapes that will appease the other person. But the truth is, a narcissist will never meet you in fairness, empathy, or respect. They cannot. And the moment you accept that, the moment you realize that your energy and your peace are far too valuable to waste, you begin to see the power of distance. Distance is not weakness. Distance is not avoidance. Distance is a declaration you will no longer be a participant in a game designed to trap you. When you step back, when you create space between yourself and the chaos, you reclaim clarity. You stop reacting. You stop feeding into the drama. You stop giving them what they crave most, your emotional energy, your time, your focus. And in that quiet, in that intentional space, something remarkable happens. You begin to heal. You begin to see yourself, your life, and your worth with fresh eyes. Many people fear distance. They think that by stepping away, they are abandoning the relationship, abandoning the person, abandoning themselves. But the opposite is true. Distance is not abandonment, it is protection. It is choosing your life, your mental health, and your dignity over the endless cycle of manipulation. When you distance yourself, you are telling the narcissist, without saying a word, that you will not allow their behavior to dictate your peace. And this is where your power becomes undeniable. Distance also gives perspective. When you are too close, too involved, the patterns of manipulation can be hard to see. The subtle gaslighting, the relentless criticism, the quiet control, they blend into the fabric of your day-to-day life. But when you step back, even just a little, you can see clearly what was happening. You recognize the games. You see the boundaries that were crossed. You understand the energy you were giving away. And with that perspective comes wisdom, the wisdom to protect yourself, the wisdom to act intentionally, the wisdom to never let this happen again. It is important to remember that distance doesn't have to mean permanent separation, though it can. Sometimes it is a temporary measure, a pause that allows you to regain your strength and your sense of self. Other times it is a more permanent choice, because a narcissist cannot and will not respect the boundaries that protect you. Either way, distance is a tool of empowerment. It is a shield. It is a way of saying, I value myself enough to walk away from what diminishes me. And while it may feel uncomfortable at first, while the narcissist may try to pull you back in with guilt, charm, or threats, the truth is that your peace is non-negotiable. No apology, no explanation, no promise of change can replace the value of protecting your heart and your mind. Distance allows you to step out of their control and step into your own authority. It allows you to live on your terms, not theirs. Distance also teaches you patience with yourself and with life. You learn that you do not need constant validation from others. You learn that your worth is inherent, not granted by someone else. You learn that your happiness, your confidence, and your peace are yours to cultivate, and no narcissist has the right to take them from you. And in that space, free from manipulation and chaos, you rediscover the strength you may have forgotten you had. Ultimately, distance is about freedom. Freedom from the endless cycle of manipulation. Freedom from trying to fix the unfixable. Freedom from emotional exhaustion. Freedom to live intentionally, to choose your battles wisely, and to invest in people and situations that truly value and uplift you. And here's the most important part: once you embrace distance, once you stop chasing the approval, validation, or recognition of someone who cannot give it, you experience a peace and a clarity that no one can ever take from you. So, stand back when you need to. Step away when it is necessary. Protect your time, your energy, your mind, and your heart. Because the strongest act of courage and love you can perform is not to fight for someone who will never fight for you, but to fight for yourself. And in doing so, you not only free yourself, you reclaim the life you were always meant to live.